are the last member of your invasion force, sent to retrieve 4 runes from 4 different dimensions before confronting the vile Shub-Niggurath in his lair. To do this, you have to strategically use your variety of weaponry against the invading creatures and areas heavily inspired by Lovecraftian mythos. In 1996, id Software was still the reigning king of the first-person shooter with the release of Doom, then Doom 2 and Final Doom. But now they decided to kick it up a notch. While Duke Nukem was chewing his last piece of bubblegum before being unleashed on the world, id was preparing to usher the world into a true 3D shooting experience. On this episode of Knee Deep in the Dead, we look into the effects and aftershocks of id Software's Quake. The development of Quake had been on the drawing board since 1990, but it wasn't until 1995 that full-scale development started. To bring the game to life, it required a completely new engine programmed yet again by John Carmack and his team. Developing what was called the Quake engine, Carmack created a new system that would pre-render 3D environments for faster loading. It also advanced lighting and shadow technology for a much more engaging experience. Like most id releases from this era of shooters, the story is at its most basic. You're alone, there's things to kill them before they kill you. But where Quake's biggest strength lies is in both its core shooting mechanics, also like most id releases, and the need for strategy when shooting. For example, one enemy you face is a zombie. He attacks by throwing chunks of himself at you. Being a zombie, most ballistic weapons just cause him to fall down. The only way to permanently kill them is with a grenade or rocket to the face bits. In fact, there's an entire level built around this fact as you dodge several of them trying to locate a grenade launcher. Other weapons you utilize include the nailgun and super nailgun, weapons that have become somewhat of a staple in Quake, and the Thunderbolt, which just shoots pure lightning. Some of the enemies you face include the Ogre, who enjoys spamming his grenades, the Fiend, jumpy little buggers who stab you with their claws, the Vor, who launch spiky homing grenades that are an absolute pain to avoid, one of the most annoying enemies I've ever encountered in any FPS I have ever played, the Spawn. These piles of concentrated pain in the ass bounce everywhere, whittling down your health, and if you kill them, they detonate in a tiny nuclear explosion that could likely kill you. And in case you were wondering, yes, monsters still fight each other, though it seems that the Hell Knights and Ogres were by far the most prone to it. Upon its release, Quake ushered in a new area of praise for id Software and helped bring about a new era for the first-person shooter. The age of sprites and shooters was coming to an end as 3D models that reacted fully to how they were shot became prevalent. The multiplayer component of Quake was so popular it spawned a convention, QuakeCon, in 1996 that continues today. The first QuakeCon started with just 30 people, but expanded into nearly 100. John Carmack and the rest of the id Software team visited this convention, with Carmack himself taking part in a group chat that has become a convention tradition. Quake was also renowned for its modding capabilities. A little mod called Team Fortress was created in 1996, creating class-based battles in what had until this point been dominated by carbon copy deathmatch and team deathmatch. Version 2.5 of Team Fortress was also one of the first games to introduce headshots to the genre. However, Quake was also the last id Software game to be worked on by John Romero, who would co-found a developer named IonStorm and begin development of a somewhat controversial game we will get to eventually. But for now, our next focus will be upon the consoles of this era, and a game that both shook and stirred the ideas of how FPSs could be accomplished on consoles. And we'll get to that in the next episode. Until then, my friends, as always, game on and take care.